Hello, Global Theater. My name is Jerry Fielka. Today's January 29, 2025. I want to thank Rob Grant and his amazing podcast. I'm probably wrong about everything. Please subscribe. Also want to thank John Stein, Andy's brother, and the city of Ann Arbor, Michigan, for turning me on to, well, it's actually a guy who played your music, Commander Cody in the Lost Planet Airmen. He played J.C. Crawford. That was his theme song, Lost in the Ozone. So I'm in Flint, Michigan, listening to FM underground radio, and every time I listened to his show, he would play that song, and it's part of my lifeblood. So I want to thank our guest today, Andy Stein, for forming my lifeblood, my theme song lifeblood. Where are you calling in from, Andy?
I'm in New York City.
First question is, what is the best thing for a human being?
Oh, come on. What is the best thing for a human being? Sorry. I don't know where to start with that.
Okay, that's fine. What's your favorite form of information? How it comes into you?
Well, I mean, from a NLP, neuro-linguistic programming point of view, audio is, obviously what I am most tuned into. I don't know.
That's good. No, I love that.
Touching smooth things.
Touching smooth things?
Touching. Yeah, so touch is a form.
Touching smooth things is really intense. To go from audio to touching smooth
Well,
things.
you're asking me what form of
yeah, no, I love it. Notice, Andy, I
five senses, and so
yes,
I'm not very good with smell, especially since COVID.
Yeah,
and taste. I like good Chinese food.
but I want to. Yeah, I appreciated your first response because Rebecca Solnit says so well. Just because you're asked a question doesn't mean you have to answer it. I'm for tangents, anecdotes, stories, and for people to say I can't answer that or I don't know the answer. I'm not trying to put you on the spot, so I appreciated you saying that first thing. But then the second answer, you said touching smooth things. So it was back to my first question: what is the best thing? Because thing is so varied. So why do you think humans collect or gather information?
Well, it starts out as a survival thing.
Yeah. Is this need or want more innate or more invented? To collect information, is it in us innately or did we invent it?
Well, the information changes, but our wish to get the information, I think, goes from the very beginning.
Yeah, you mean the wish is probably in us innately.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. Do thoughts create emotions?
Some thoughts do. Yeah.
Yeah.
They're emotional reactions to the thought.
Yeah. Fill in the blank. I don't know what I think until I
think it. I mean, I don't know what I think. Yeah, I'm not.
No, that's it. I get that answer till I think.
Good.
Yeah,
Right.
because McLuhan says, I don't know what I think until I say it. Joan Didion says, I don't know what I think until I write it.
Well, it's nice to think before you say.
It's nice. That's a good word, Andy. Can humans think without language?
That's a very interesting question that I'm not a professional, but professionals have worked on that for a long time.
But I'm after your hunch, your guess.
My hunch is yes, because we can think multidimensionally, and language is only one dimension.
Yeah, very good. Good word. Chomsky says a language is not just words. It's a culture, a tradition, a unification of community, a whole history that creates what a community is. Andy, what do you do when language doesn't work? When language breaks down, what do you do?
You mean when you're trying to use language for communication?
Yeah, a clerk at a store or a family member, language breaks down. What do you do?
Try another language.
Yeah.
Could be sign language. It could be another spoken language.
Yeah. Your observations of humans in general, are we more thinking beings or more feeling beings?
Feeling.
Yeah.
Look what happened to the election.
Yeah. Well, Bridget Bardot says, when I make love, I don't think. And I'm like, good luck. How do you turn your thinking off? And people who meditate, they go, now think about not thinking. And there's a bumper sticker on a car on my street that says, don't believe everything you feel, or don't believe everything you think. And I go, well, you could say, don't believe everything you feel.
And what would you like me to say?
You're responding with a question. You win, Andy. That's what this series is all about, inventing new questions. So here's two from Alan Turing in the 50s. One, is thinking a function of the soul?
I don't know it depends on how you define soul. I mean, that's a very loose term. So, I mean, yeah. It's defined by many different people, many different ways.
Yeah. The second Turing question is, can machines think?
It's a question of what you call thinking. It certainly can deduce consequences from other thoughts, from other situations,
Yeah. Do you more pursue happiness or more pursue meaning?
It varies throughout the day.
Very good.
No one's tired of meaning, and I just want some happiness.
No one's that honest, Andy. In 40 years, that's pretty good. Because I got it from Viktor Frankl's book, Man's Search for Meaning. He says happiness doesn't tend to last, meaning tends to last.
Right. I'll agree with that.
Okay. Does the brain more detect consciousness or create it? Like, is consciousness there bubbling away and we're more so detecting it or more so creating it?
Boy, these are really semantic questions.
Yeah, we're going to get into music. I mean, these are just playful. You can say pass, but I mean, just your hunch. Do you think we're creating it, or is it already there and we're just detecting it?
Well, if it's already there and I haven't detected, I wouldn't know.
Brilliant. What's faster, speed of light or speed of thought?
It depends.
Yeah.
Speed of thought varies. Speed of light does not.
Yeah. Audre Lorde, the poet, said you can't dismantle the master's house using the master's tools. Her colleague Yvonne Rainer said, oh, you can if you expose the tools. What new tool do you suggest?
For dismantling the house?
Yeah, that's a good question, Annie, because basically you put the questions in the context you want. So basically I'm asking you, what tool do you most gravitate towards? You can apply the word new if you want, and you can apply dismantling the master's house if you want.
What tool do I use?
Yeah.
I just don't know how. It depends on what for. Different tools, different things.
Yeah. What new toy do you suggest?
What new toy? I'm an old fart, so I'm not sure that I know about all the really cool new toys.
What's a toy you liked in your lifetime?
Well, my instruments, my
there
violin,
you go.
Saxophone, my
Violin and sex. We're going to get into that. What do you worry about when you go to bed at night?
Well, these days,
Yeah.
it's political.
Yeah. Marshall McLuhan learned from a poet that artists, musicians are the antenna of the race. They're kind of broadcasting and detecting the hidden psychic effects of our inventions, so we might learn how to cope with what we don't like about our inventions. So Andy, I asked you the question Marshall probed his whole career. Why do we ignore the hidden psychic effects of our inventions, even though the artists are broadcasting them to us?
Well, we don't completely ignore them. I mean, that's, when did you stop beating your wife? Why do we ignore them? Hopefully we don't.
That's good.
Sometimes people are open to communication from others, and sometimes they're not.
Do artists have moral obligation?
Oh, that's an interesting question. I think if you're up on a stage, I mean, I don't know about fine art, but performing art, if you're doing a gig, you're in a position, somebody's paying you, and somebody has expectations. And your job, you do have an obligation to try and fulfill those expectations, and or give them something that they didn't expect, but that they were grateful for.
Yeah. Yeah, that reminds me, my friend's a pro musician and he got a gig at a fancy Hollywood party, and the booker said, don't talk to any of the people at the party. And James Cameron comes up to Brad and starts talking to him like, I like your music. And they start talking, brag time music. And he got in trouble. He says, well, I didn't talk to them. They talked to me. So that's like that expectations thing. When you sign up for a gig, are you supposed to follow the rules?
It's a famous Heifetz story. You know who Yasha Heifetz was?
Yes.
Okay, well, he was asked, somebody said, Mrs. Grosvenor is giving a party on Park Avenue, and we would love you to entertain to play for the guests. And how much would you charge for an hour and a half? He said $5,000. He said, one other thing, you have to use the service entrance and not talk to any of the guests. In that case, it's $1,500.
And did he get it?
That's not part of the story.
Very good. I'm open for these stories. Andy, are you more afraid of new ideas or more afraid of old ideas?
I can't answer that. There's some new ones and there's some old ones.
Can you
some of the new ones are old?
Yeah. Oh, of course. Can you conjure up your earliest memory ever, or one of them?
Well, I do, because I remember when I was about 3 or 4, taking a walk with my dad, talking about memory.
Oh my God.
I remembered when I was about 2 at that point. So I got an extra tag on that memory. And that memory, when I was less than 2, because I was a baby. I was on the table at the pediatrician's office on the paper.
It's remarkable. So let me make this clear. You remember being very young in a dialogue with your dad, talking to him about memory.
Yes. And I remember the example that I talked about. So that gave me a double tag for that memory.
Okay. Now, your brother John is a friend in Venice, California here. And he told me about your dad a couple times and how he lived a long life, didn't he? When he died, what age did he die at?
103 3/4.
Okay. And my favorite story is John told me he had a drink like every night, like a ritual drink, maybe every night, I don't know, often.
Yeah.
And John said, let me try that. And John couldn't handle it. It was really strong.
Yeah.
And so my question is what explains longevity? His DNA or his lifestyle choice? Like, did the
I think there's a
alcohol
lot of DNA going on.
DNA? You think it's more DNA, a little more DNA?
I would say it's a combination. You can have really great DNA for longevity and still be stupid enough to do something that'll kill you. But I think all of us look somewhat younger than we are.
Yeah.
And we certainly did.
But do you think that alcohol chilled him out and he had less stress because of that, and that might have helped him in his longevity?
Well, I wouldn't emphasize his nightly cocktail as a major factor.
Yeah.
I know. Anyway.
No, that's good. His nightly cocktail was not a major factor. Yeah. No, I appreciate that. Okay. So is memory more a curse or more a blessing?
Well, for me, it's a blessing.
Yeah.
Why? I don't know who would say memory is a curse.
I get it. Well, 80% say it's a blessing. The 20% who say it's not a blessing have their reasons, but I'm not saying none of these questions have right or wrong answers.
I know.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. That like yesterday, I was a famous musician and he said, memory is the enemy. And I says, what? I've never heard that. And then I Googled it and Michael Pollan, he said memory is the enemy without wonder. So anyways, I'm not saying anybody's right or wrong here. These are just prompts for us to ponder. So tell me someone within your immediate family who had an impact on you, and what was that impact?
Well, I mean, everybody in my immediate family. You mean growing up or my son?
Yeah, you could put in the context you want. Yeah, just I'm looking for one or two examples, but one example, someone like
Well, if it's my brother Bob, who sort of was very encouraging. He's 10 years older than me, and he came back to live with me and my parents when I was in high school. And he's kind of a camp counselor kind of a guy. Hey, everybody, let's go do XYZ.
Yeah.
And he was very encouraging to me. My parents were rather older. But, early on, of course, my parents had huge effect.
Well, what would you say? What's the main thing you got from your mom and main thing you got from your dad?
Well, I got my health, first of all, from both of them.
Yeah.
From my mom. Intuition, reading other people, and I don't know, early nurturing stuff. My dad was a very good amateur pianist, and his involvement with music was obviously very important in my influence.
Beautiful. And since you mentioned your son, what'd you mainly get from your son?
Well, I got a lease on life. I got a reason to live. I learned so much from him about people, about, I don't know.
That's pretty good, Andy. I like that. Okay, so now the same question outside your immediate family. Someone who had an impact on you, and what was the impact?
Someone who had an impact on me.
Yeah.
I don't know how far back to go. In the Commander Cody thing, Bill Kirchen had a big impact.
What did you get from Bill?
Well, his record collection.
Very good.
And, when I joined the band, I had no idea about, Billy C also, and Tishy. They all have great record collections. And I learned so much about music that I didn't know. Up until that point, I knew about old time music, and I knew about Renaissance dance music, and I knew about classical music, and I knew about folk music with a capital F. And but I didn't know anything about rock and roll, blues, country music, historic country music, Texas music.
Texas swing. Okay, look, we're going to get into music in a second, but let's just knock these philosophical. Were you raised a particular religion?
No.
Do you pray?
Not in the traditional sense.
If God exists, what would you like God to say to you after you die?
I don't give a shit what he says after I die. I'm dead.
Okay, do evil people exist, or does evil use people as a vehicle?
Well, evil is not an entity. It doesn't use people. It's a characteristic.
Yeah.
And it has to do with behavior and attitude. So I don't think people, I don't choose to judge evil versus good.
Well, the real hidden question, Andy, is how do you advise someone to deal with an enemy? And I'll set it up. Alan Watts says, if you acknowledge your enemy, you empower them. Coppola stole from the mob and the samurai. Keep your friends close and your enemies closer. JFK said, forgive your enemy, but don't forget their name. And Fellini says, I need an enemy. It's a lot of thoughts. The basic question is, how do you advise someone to deal with an enemy? But first, how would you respond to Alan Watts? If you acknowledge your enemy, you empower him.
So then I would guess I wouldn't acknowledge him, at least publicly.
Yeah. So if your son came to you and said, someone's bullying me, what would you say? Any advice?
Oh. Keep your distance. Somebody bullying. Keep your distance and observe and see whether there is, if you have a choice to just not interact, that's the best. If you must interact because of circumstances, then you try and figure out, using, the Aikido model is a good one. Do you know about Aikido?
That is, you hit the master plan, man. That my younger friends taught me. It's the best warriors are the ones that don't even fight the fight.
Right.
Yeah.
Aikido is a Japanese martial art where you take the attacker's energy and guide them to the floor.
Yeah.
And you can do it without touching them.
Really good. Good solution there, my friend. And this is Nassim Taleb. Games were created to give non-heroes the illusion of winning. In real life, we don't know who wins or loses, but we can tell who a hero is. Gregory Bateson says, if a criminal gets caught, does he go, whoa, my criminal skills weren't up to snuff that day? Or does he go, oh, I did something morally and socially wrong? Question is, does punishment work?
I can't answer that. Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't.
Yeah. James Joyce was the first projectionist in Dublin 100 years ago. Basically checked out. He said, this is stupid. Why should I go inside a building and see a movie of a tree when I can go outside and see a real tree? Years later, Faulkner said, sometimes the best fiction is more true than journalism. Why do we have to recreate things in order to get them? Why do we have to go to a theatrical play of people acting out life? Why don't we just live life?
Well, maybe that's part of living life.
I like that answer. So,
Whatever
Andy,
your boat.
Andy, walk us through, where's your tipping point where you felt in your life that being a musician was your calling? Like, you're growing up, you're hearing music. How's it being played around you, live or on radio? And then you're going, oh, I can do that. Where's that tipping point?
Sometime during high school, when I realized I was having trouble doing anything else. I mean, I was good at math, but I really, it's at that point it was like it was clear.
Then how was the process of picking the violin or sax? What came first? And was it your parents saying try this, or the teacher, or you said that's for me? What's that process?
The violin was first. The violin really doesn't work as a second instrument. The learning curve is too steep for the violin. So it has to be your primary instrument.
But who picked it? Your parents or you?
My aunt, Lillian Fuchs, who was a well-known violist.
Yeah.
Who was married to my dad's twin brother.
Yeah.
She shoved the fiddle under my chin when I was 3.
Yeah.
And she said, it looks good. Wait till he's 5.
So then in high school, are you studying music in college?
Yes. I took some courses at Mannes College of Music while I was in high school.
When did the sax come into the picture?
Not until I joined Commander Cody and the Lost Planet Airmen. And we were playing all varieties of music, from country to rock and roll and blues and everything in between that I mentioned before. And I said, why should I try and beat the shit out of a violin when I could be honking on a saxophone playing one-note solos? That's all you need to do.
That's Big J McNeely, Joe Houston, all of Frank Zappa's heroes, man. That's one note. Captain Beefheart plays a one-note harmonica solo on a Zappa song. One note. That is beautiful. But let me ask you, what age are you when you're in Commander Cody? What age are you finding Commander Cody about?
About 18, 19.
Wow. You're a student at University of Michigan then?
Yeah.
What are you studying there?
Music.
Okay, so now you
major.
One note solo. Which sax did you play mainly?
Well, I played tenor, but I started out on alto.
Yeah.
My friend loaned me a plastic alto.
Yeah.
Like the one Ornette used to play.
Oh my God. Ornette used to be a elevator guy at the Maid Company in LA, and he would run the elevator to the top floor and practice on the top floor with his plastic. Okay, so what's the function of music?
It's a language, as per earlier discussion. It's a language which communicates all sorts of things. Hopefully, emotional content, but sometimes it doesn't. Not sure whether to call it music at that point, but sometimes actually even in long forms of music, sometimes you want to rest from the emotional. You want something that is just. So I would say generally it's just a language.
Yeah. Well, that you almost touched on Igor Stravinsky's lectures on music means nothing. So when you went, sometimes you want music that just, do you mean you want music to relax you or to put you in a trance or a daydream? Well, I didn't quite understand your gesture. You said
Well, I
sometimes.
mean, sometimes you have some emotionally intense music,
Yeah,
and you want to have some gray area
yeah,
to recoup,
yeah,
So you sometimes want to actually have music that doesn't have any emotional content to it.
yeah,
It has its place. That's why I backtracked from saying that
yeah,
music always expresses emotion.
yeah. And yeah, that's dynamics. That was really good. And we're going to get into that more. But are you generally a composer? Are you writing music and lyrics throughout your career? Or are you mainly playing?
I mostly play, but I write a lot too. Sometimes, and I arrange a lot.
Okay, and you write the music and the lyrics, or mainly just
I
the
have
music?
written lyrics in the past when the demand comes to it for it.
Okay, so now let's talk about an Andy composition, not commissioned for anyone. You're just going to write an Andy composition. Here's the question and the setup. A screenwriting teacher told me great art is when you can clearly see the intention of the maker. Kubrick says the opposite. Great art is when you can clearly not see the intention of the maker. What role does intention play in your creative process when you're writing an Andy song?
Intention is a wonderful way to focus.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're not being commissioned, or, I wrote an opera with Garrison Keillor and we had a deadline.
Yeah.
I used to write film scores for Roger Corman, National Lampoon, and stuff. You have deadlines. So deadlines are always useful.
Yeah.
And the clearer the instructions, the better. I've written some violin music, solo violin music that sounds like Bach. And I started out by saying, I want to write some music that sounds like Bach.
Yeah.
So I would say the intention is a help. I mean, people come to me, they want to learn how to improvise on the violin. And I say, so who do you want to sound like? What do you like to hear? I just want to do my own thing. I say, great. I wouldn't want to get in the way of that.
Yeah, go listen to Jean-Luc Ponty and Don and Dewey and the whole history, and Bob Wills and all the greats. Yeah, but this is interesting because this Harold Bloom in The Anxiety of Influences says you absorb your influence, then you abandon them. So when you wrote that Bach piece, does that apply? You just said,
No,
"Oh, I want
to abandon it." I had an intention.
Okay, so now Duchamp said there's no art without an audience. How much are you thinking of your potential listener when you're writing your song?
It depends on whether I'm writing it for the purpose of listeners or, just a compositional exploration, or, how
The
is my
second,
Bach? If I wanted to write Bach, how would it sound? That's not for anybody.
yeah,
But once it's done,
yeah.
I can hawk it to anybody who wants to play some new Bach.
Hocket, Hock.
Yeah.
Hocket, that is a good word. Okay. Copeland says the four elements of music are melody, harmony, rhythm, and tone color. In non-academic terms, what is tone color?
Oh, a tone color would mean the instrument that's being played.
Yeah.
I mean, French horn, oboe or whatever.
It's good. I've never had anyone sing tone color. That was beautiful. Now, how do you focus or integrate melody, harmony, rhythm, and tone color? Is there any sort of process, or you have a bias towards one or the other, or is it just free for all?
Well, it comes to me unified.
Yeah.
I mean, it's integrated would be a better word.
Yeah.
I might hear a melody. Along with the melody, a lot of times comes harmony. Actually, sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes it's a melody that can be harmonized in different ways, and I'm not concerned with that at the time. Melody, harmony. A lot of composition started out not with harmony in mind at all, but with only melody. And by the way, melody includes rhythm.
Wow. See, no one's ever. How'd you learn that?
Check out any melody. I mean, it's not Mary had a little lamb, a little lamb, and there's the rhythm to the melody that goes with it.
But what was Copeland trying to differentiate when he said those were the four elements? Are you claiming Aaron was wrong?
No, but he did like to talk and write. And I appreciate he's written some wonderful stuff. But
oh, yeah.
I'm not that kind. I didn't, there was a lot of analysis and that was going on in the early part of the 20th century.
Yeah.
That is possibly correct, but misleading in terms of priorities. I'm reading a Schoenberg book right now.
Yeah.
Schoenberg, who was known as inventing 12-tone music.
Yeah.
But he taught composition at USC and UCLA starting in 1941. And he wrote textbooks for his composer, So he analyzed the shit out of a lot of stuff. And he's right. But sometimes I don't need to go through that process to come up with something good.
Yeah, well, sadly, a lot of his papers just burned in the California fires.
Well, those were not.
Oh,
the information there is all in the museum in Vienna. So.
Oh, good. I'm glad to hear that.
What burned were the original publications, but.
Gotcha. Thank you for clarifying that. My friend says the 3 T's of music are technique, theory, and taste. Technique, you learn how to play it. Theory, you know the structure. How does one acquire taste?
Well, I mean, who wants to acquire taste? Why would you want to acquire it?
Well, okay, that's what I like. See, Andy, you get it. We're psychoanalyzing the wording on my questions. You're challenging that verb. What would you change it to? How does one get taste? How does one develop taste? Is the question. What's the verb you would prefer?
How one develop taste is by. We're talking about music now or everything.
Again, you put it in the context you want, but let's start with music.
How do you develop taste is you listen to a lot of different music and decide what you like and what you don't like.
Yeah. But the question is, how do you decide what you like and what you don't like? What's that root?
It becomes apparent if you just listen. You got to listen to a lot of different kinds of music. I thought I didn't like country and Western music.
Yeah.
Till I joined the band.
Yeah.
And then I started listening to country Western music, and I developed a taste for it.
Yeah.
Does that answer that?
Oh yeah, you can't go wrong. You listen to Bob Wills, it's like, hello. You know Hank Williams' biggest influence on his lyric writing?
I'm gonna guess, but no, I mean.
What's your guess?
Jimmy Rogers.
Comic books.
Oh.
Isn't that funny? Okay, so Here's the follow-up on the taste. This is Marshall McLuhan. He's basically saying two things. Any reactions? One, song is slow down speech. The reason cultures have different musical taste is ultimately connected to language difference. Any comments?
Say it again. That was a mouthful.
Song is slowed down speech.
Okay.
The reason cultures have different musical taste is ultimately connected to language difference.
I'm not sure that's true.
Yeah.
Because in terms of the slow down, there's patter songs and there's long, sweet, drawn out songs in every musical genre and in every language. You might think that Latin American music has sped up words because they have to get so many. A translation into Spanish of an English thing is about 1.5 times as long. So for their brains to operate the same speed as us, their mouths have to operate at a 50% faster. But
no,
but there's patter songs in Gilbert and Sullivan in English, you know.
But I think he might be. See, McLuhan was really a charlatan, but he was a poet. But he was in media studies, so they miss him. People miss him because they don't realize he's talking metaphorically. He's probably saying song is slow down speech, meaning, well, like the way people talk Eskimos, or the way the Gamelan people talk, you know, that play that music, or the way the tuba throat singers, you know, the tuba throat singers.
Certainly.
They're like Feynman brought them to LA and had them in the Rose Bowl parade and on Johnny Carson, and they sing about three things: their horses, their boots, and the snow. But you know, when we listen to it, we're like it's in transcendental space it puts you into. So, you know, it's like how they speak probably affects, or he's just suggesting it could affect how their music is structured.
Okay, I'll let that go. I mean, I don't agree or disagree with that.
Yeah, no, I'm not trying to convince you. I'm just using these as prompts for you to say anything you want. What's more fundamental, music or language?
Music is a language.
Yeah. Tell me an instrumental that makes you laugh.
The famous Concerto in E by Red Engel.
Concerto in E by Red. How do you spell that last name?
INGLE or EL. I'm not sure. I think LE.
Yeah. Can you hum a few bars?
Ba, ba, da, 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 da. You want more?
You want to guess what most people say?
Music that makes them laugh?
Yeah.
What?
The Benny Hill theme. Okay. But, you know, for me, it's Thelonious Monk, who I like to slide into so coolly right here. Monk said there's no wrong notes. Any comment?
Correct. I use that quote a lot.
Do you really? Okay. So then my friend nailed it. Greatest artist in Venice Beach, Dougos, said Thelonious Monk heard all the notes that Charlie Parker heard, but only decided to play some of them. So, yeah. So it goes to this process of the use of silence and not playing notes. So, Miles talked about the space between notes. George Clinton, Parliament Funkadelic, says funk is the absence of. And Thelonious Monk says silence is the loudest sound in the universe. How do you know when to not play, Andy? How do you know when to incorporate silence in music?
When I'm like jamming or playing with other people.
In any context you want,
composing. There's time to just shut up.
But how do you know that?
How do you know when to stop talking?
Are you saying it's intuition?
No, it's more attention. Listening.
Listening. Okay, very good. Okay, you've performed on stage for decades. Ruth Draper says the key is to bring the audience up onto the stage and into the scene with you. It is they who must give you even more than you give them in the way of imagination and creative power. Hey, that sounds good, but how do you do that?
I don't think I get imagination or creative power from them, but I do get energy. And I use my own imagination and creative power. Thank you very much.
Yeah, but how do you get energy from them?
Knowing that they're listening, that they are attending to what I'm doing.
Yeah. Leonard Cohen says the only way you can sell a concert is if you put yourself at risk. And if you don't do that, people know. What role does risk play in your creative process?
Well, in different kinds of music, it plays a different role. In classical music, you're just trying to be as transparent as possible and let the music come through. And there's always a risk that you'll get in the way. Any kind of performing, your attention to what you're saying, whether it's speaking or playing music or anything, the audience can tell when you mean what you say. And they can also tell when you're treading water. In jazz, it's extreme risk because you're standing there with your pants down, and it's a streaming, you're always risky. That's what's so exciting. Okay, enough of that.
That's it. I was waiting for you to say in rock, your pants are already down. No, but I mean, what is, I spoke with this great jazz and rock singer, and he says, I leave risk in the dressing room, sort of like saying, I want to go out there and feel confident. Well, how do you explain the courage to have risk in jazz? Where do you get the courage from?
Well, you've risked before, and it's an opportunity to explore risk.
Yeah.
It's like when you're young and you enjoy doing dangerous things. You get a shot of adrenaline from the risk.
There you go. Okay, so Viola Spolin, she invented comedy improv. If the audience cannot see your struggle to achieve something, they cannot root for you to achieve it. What role does struggle play in your creative process?
Well, I don't need them to root for me.
Yeah.
Sometimes, especially in New York City, somebody comes up and said, after performance, they'll say, that was very impressive. I was very much impressed. I'm not here to impress you. You enjoy yourself. Did you like it? I don't really give a damn about impressing.
That is good. Beautiful, Andy. Okay, so Ben Ratliff, music writer, says, I mean sound as it has long functioned among jazz players, as a mystical term of art, as in every musician finally needs a sound, a full and sensible embodiment of their artistic personality, such that it can be heard at best in a single note. So me and you could hear Miles, and Ben would go, okay, 2 words. He's fragile and pointed. Okay, Coltrane, he's slightly undercooked and urgent. If a music writer who you really respect was going to summarize Andy Stein's sound in 2 words, what 2 words would you go, he gets me?
I prefer not to answer that. I'm going to leave the writing, the critique to the critique, to the critics. The only thing I would say is my favorite review that I ever got.
Yeah.
Was at a program, Lyrics and Lyricists on the East Side. And we had these various cabaret singers doing some love song on the front line, and we had a band in the back. And then they wanted a violin solo, and this was a male and female singing love song to each other in some way.
Yeah.
And they said, why don't you come in between them and come up from under between them and play 16 bars when they'll come back in on the bridge.
Yeah.
And the review said, and the highlight of the evening was the intrusive violin playing.
Intrusive is 1 word. Okay, that's 1 word. You appreciated intrusive. Just give me 1 other word that you like that someone said about Andy.
Authentic.
Oh, that's good. Beautiful. You did it, Andy. So Frank Zappa was asked by the LA Free Press in 1969, said, you mentioned Pauline Oliveros, work with sound, above the audible and below, creating a mass. Frank said, no, not that it created a mass, it created something audible. It produced a sum indifference tone, which happened to be located within the audible frequency range. Okay. By combining something so high you couldn't hear it and something so low you couldn't hear it, it would produce something in the middle you could hear. Whether you liked it or not is another question. The concept is brilliant. Any comment on this sum indifference tone located within the audible frequency range?
Well, it's a phenomenon of physics of sound.
Yeah.
So, I mean, what do you want me to say about it?
Well, if
how it happens.
Yeah. Yeah.
The difference tone comes from when you have 2 notes. Let me see how to. If you have 2 sine curves,
yeah,
one is a lot longer than the other.
Yeah.
We're out of phase with the other. Then, one is higher pitched and one is lower pitched. At some point, they come back together and both the curves go down at the same time. You might have one that goes like this, but it comes down there. The frequency at which how often they come together and reinforce each other is much lower note. It's much longer wave, much longer period. And so that becomes a note itself. So you have 2 notes up here, bum bum, and you'll hear a boom, which is basically the common denominator of the two fractions.
Yeah.
So that's really a tone, and the sum tone is similarly constructed.
Thanks, Andy. Why is 4/4 time the most commonly used time signature in Western music?
I'm not sure that it is. I mean, cut time is also extremely common.
What is
call it common time?
What is cut time? CUT time. What is that? I've never heard that.
It's basically two halves instead of 4/4.
I see.
So when you have bum chick, bum chick, bum chick, bum chick, bum chick, bum chick, usually we call a measure bum chick, and that's called. You don't think of it as 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. You think of it as 1, 2, 1, 2. So cut time is two halves.
Yeah.
Whereas common time is 4/4.
Is cut time a polka?
Well, polka is a cut time, but not all cut time is polka.
Yeah. So cut time and common time. That's good. Now I'm going to read you something Captain Beefheart said about 4/4 time. I'm just curious your reaction. What people say is 4/4 time is the most commonly used signature. Besides being intuitive and easy, it might be because it's in sync with our walking or our marching or our heartbeat. But Beefheart said he wants to vary away from what's called the mama heartbeat. The beat, the same old 4/4 rhythm is related to fascism. It's so fixative, so hypnotic, so synthesized, it's dangerous to the heart. It's like disco is dangerous. He wanted non-hypnotic music to break us out of the catatonic state.
So what do you want me to say? I mean,
any comment on this idea of 4/4 time being, fascist?
Ridiculous. Marches are in 2. They're not in 4. Trombones lead to the parade. It's not 71, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. No, it's 71, 2, 1, 2 to 1 to 2, 1, 2. They're in 2.
Yeah.
So marches are in cut time usually.
Yeah, marches are cut time. So is the heartbeat in 4/4? Do you think? Because some people say it's in 3/4.
Yeah, I'm not going there.
Yeah. What's more important, conviction or compromise?
I'll pass.
What do you think the motive of the cave artists was? Cave musicians, cave dance. We don't have it documented except art. Your guess or your hunch, what was their motive?
As performing artists or other art?
Either, whatever. Why were people drawing on the caves?
Communication of some sort, obviously.
Yeah. In your accomplishments, Andy, how do you rate these 3 elements, luck, skill, and ambition? What played the biggest role, second and third?
I never was very ambitious. So luck and skill would be in there. I feel lucky. But I also, worked on my skills to be ready when I was lucky to take advantage of it.
You got a great resume, man. Okay. Poet says poetry is outing your inner dialogue. What language is your inner dialogue in?
It's in music.
Yeah. Two of my film heroes say Ignore yourself. Jonas Mika says there's no self-expression. And Cecil Taylor says, I'm just a vehicle and this stuff just comes through me. Is art making, music making more self-expression or more your vehicle for whatever cultures, environments, and technologies are dominant?
Not so much the technologies, but I feel when it's good, it came through me.
Yeah.
It didn't, what was the other word?
Self-expression.
Yeah. I'm pretty bored with myself. I'd rather do something bigger than that.
Can art making be egoless?
Yeah.
Yeah. Lewis Carroll says, I believe as many as 6 impossible things before breakfast. Have you believed in any impossible things lately?
I don't know what to do with that. Sorry.
Don't worry, that you don't have to be sorry at all. Tell me one major element, Andy, of your Andiness and your music output that's changed in one major element that stayed the same in the decades you've been doing this.
I think I'm playful.
That stayed the same?
I think so.
What's changed?
Some things have gotten more sophisticated or fine-tuned. I got better on the violin for a while. I got better on the saxophone. Now I'm worse, but that's just today.
I love this word playful because, it is funny. You play music, you don't work music, but when you go to gigs, it's work. But
I like to be entertaining.
Yeah.
And that's where the playful thing comes in.
Yeah. Well, that's partly satire because, I asked my friend who wrote jokes with Robin Williams, can satire be destructive? And he said, that's the job of satire. But if me or you do a cartoon in a certain country and they kill us, some people think dying is destructive. Swift compared satire to a mirror in which people could see every face but their own. What's the function of satire?
Yeah, I think no. Satire is a group now I'm getting rusty with it. How long are we going to go on like this?
Well, it's supposed to be 90 minutes, so we got about 25 more minutes.
Of these kinds of questions?
Well, they're playful, dude. Just have fun. I'm doing your play.
Satire, the function of satire, to call it, when the emperor has no clothes,
Oh, there you go. But where'd you get your sense? Because you're playful, you're satirical. You grew up with some sort of sense of comedy. Where'd you get that? Did you have comedy heroes growing up, or was your dad like that, or your parents like that? How'd you get your sense of humor?
My brothers and I have a special, have a special field called Stein logic. and your friend, my brother John, was an important creator there.
But what's it based out of? Who'd you guys grow up laughing at?
Ask me if I'm an orange.
Are you an orange, Andy?
No. That's one of my favorite jokes of John's.
But I mean, some of the people you grew up
Well,
Watch.
look, Arthur Kessler wrote a book. I can't remember the name of it, but where he puts together comedy, scientific discovery, and artistic creation. And he says they all have to do with a line of thinking that goes in a straight line and then all of a sudden hits another line of thinking and makes a left turn.
Yeah.
And that is a useful thing in humor. The left turn is when I said no. And you had an expectation that I would come up with some clever answer.
No, but I think you really helped because you really opened up a whole new floodgate of questions here. I got my science page out, but again, you and John, how many years difference are you and John?
4.5.
Oh, you're older?
No, he's older. He's
okay. So who did you listen to? Like, Jack Benny or George Carlin? I mean,
we didn't watch a lot of TV.
No TV?
Well, we had a TV in the bedroom, in my parents' bedroom, but we didn't watch a lot of TV.
So did you listen to the radio or did you watch movies or any Marx Brothers, any comedy
Yeah, sure. Once in a while.
Yeah.
See a Marx Brothers movie or something. Yeah.
But nobody stood out for you and John with this sense of humor.
No.
You just developed it as a survival technique.
Yeah.
I'm filling in your answers now, Andy.
My mother used to crack really bad puns.
Oh, there you go.
So John invented the anti-pun, A-N-T-E. And the anti-pun is the setup for an obvious pun that my mother would fall for, the anti-pun, crack the bad pun, and we'd all laugh at her. And she thought we were laughing at the pun.
Now we're getting that. See, I want these to go a little
John
deeper.
Is the humor inventor.
Yeah. Here's a line that McLuhan described James Joyce using the pun. And I mean, check this pun out he does in Finnegan's Wake, where the hand of man never set foot. That's pretty good. And so in a highbrow literature book, that's like, it's like
more of a mixed metaphor than it is a pun. Anyway.
But here's what McLuhan said. Joyce used the pun as a way of seeing the paradoxical exuberance of being through language.
All right.
What's the difference between science and art?
What's the difference between mashed potatoes and baseball? I
mean, see, you answered a question with a question. You win. That's what this series is all about. So, Jean Cocteau said, "Art is science made clear." Any comment?
No, I mean, I don't go for those kinds of. No, I don't go for those kinds of generalizations.
Albert Einstein said the most beautiful thing we can experience is the mysterious. It is the source of all true art and science. What about this thing about mystery? The mystery of art, the mystery of music.
Well, what Sun Ra said. Put this in your book.
I got it right here. Tell me it.
History. That's his story.
Oh, I love that.
Mystery, that's my story.
That is the greatest history. No, I thought you were going to say, they say it's history, his story. No, it's my story. So you expanded it farther, mystery instead of my story. That's good. Oh, I needed that because it's Sun Ra's 111th birthday in May.
Okay.
No, he's a hero to me, and especially because he played Ann Arbor a lot. Here's what New Yorker magazine quoted Sun Ra like a year ago. The impossible attracts me because everything possible has been done and the world didn't change.
I mean, of course, the world changed.
Moshe Feldenkrais works with healing and movement.
Right.
He says it's literally possible to identify a weakness and incorporate it to become a strength rather than we're normally taught to overcome a weakness. Right. Tell me a weakness you turned into a strength.
Oh, boy. I'd have to really search for that.
No worries. Fill in the blank. Anger can be a productive emotion when
it's focused.
Yeah. Utah Phillips says anarchy is making rules for yourself and not other people. Who's entitled to make the rules?
That's a political question.
Well, you can label it that, but is there any thoughts on that?
Who is entitled to make the rules?
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, the Constitution is an attempt at eliminating the quote unquote entitlement.
Yeah.
Of course, the peoples that were entitled to write the Constitution had slaves and didn't have to worry about women voting and all sorts of stuff like that. But making the rules and being entitled is a thorny question that people are haggling over and always will.
No, it's the wording on that question is a struggle because it's basically who should make the rules, who makes the rules, who's entitled to make the rules. So yeah, there's a lot of verbs that can go in there.
Yeah,
but I'm basically trying to say
should. You said who isn't. You didn't say should. You said who's entitled.
No, I know. I could say who should. Well, who should make the rules?
Who should make the rules?
Yeah.
Somebody who I trust. I don't know.
There you go. That's a good answer. So the word freedom etymologically breaks down to that very phrase, making rules for oneself. What does freedom mean to you now?
Avoiding. No, I mean, what does freedom mean to me? The absence of rules that are unfair. I don't know.
Yeah, that's good. Okay, we only got 15 more minutes, Andy. It's not that bad. You're doing great. What's the most significant difference between women and men, physical aside?
I don't know. I'm still researching that.
You're a smart man. Okay, here's 5 Alan Watts questions off the top of your head in just a couple words. 1, who started it all?
The egg.
Are we going to make it?
Not sure.
Where do we put it?
Where it belongs. I don't know what you mean.
That's good. Where it belongs. 4, who's cleaning it up?
I'm not sure. It might not get cleaned up.
5, is it serious?
Yes.
How do you find peace of mind?
Escape and interaction with others.
It's good. What does escape mean? Like what in what ways? What's your forms of escape?
Well, distractions of various sorts, music,
Yeah.
Whatever your ozone methods may be.
Lost in the ozone. But that's funny because escape doesn't, that's as Bertolt Brecht says, I don't want music that puts me in a trance. I don't want art that puts me in a trance. I want art that activates me. But I mean, you're stressing, I want to be entertaining. So you at the same time, you're involved in being entertaining. You want to use music to just chill out, because I think Bertolt Brecht got it right, but also some music that puts you in a trance can eventually activate you. So, I mean, that's what Zappa would say. I'm just an entertainer. It's like, no, you're probably doing a lot more than that. You're not just.
He made political statements.
Right.
I mean,
but I
think a song called "We Are the Brain Police."
Dude, that is great. I love hearing someone else say that. Yeah, he didn't say we are the brain police. He said, who are the brain?
Who are the brain police? Excuse me.
Yeah, because he didn't say it's the evil capitalist consumer or it's the voice inside your head. He just asked the question.
You're right.
But I'm just saying, back to your thing, to escape, that implies, should entertain. Yeah, go ahead.
And also interact with other people.
Yeah.
And separately. That's not for the purposes of escaping this at all. Many times it helps to be there.
Yeah. This one's first. You create what you resist. I'm not saying that's true or false. Bob Goldthwait morphed it into you are what you hate. James Joyce said it's a curious thing how your brain is super saturated with the religion in which you say you disbelieve. And Louis Buñuel nailed it. He said, thank God I'm an atheist. What is your take on this?
Like that.
Yeah, isn't that a good one? What's your take on this, Andy? You create what you resist. Not you, but one creates what one resists. Any thought?
I mean, that's well known in the psychology of fear.
Yeah.
Because if you fear something specific, you're in fact visualizing it.
Yeah.
And giving it power to actually manifest.
Yeah, it sounds like you've explored. How in the heck did you quote NLP in my first question? I didn't even get you. Did you study NLP or read the books, or you just know about it?
Yeah, from way back.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, they were very interesting sort of people who wrote that stuff, but they got it from Milton Erickson and Gregory Bateson and anthropology. But it's more like, I think you were saying is what you resist persists.
Sure. What you fear, you create.
Can you forget to die?
That's an interesting question. I'm going to have to consult, what's his name? Becker.
Oh, Becker. There you go. That's good. Consult him, man. Well, the problem is people don't know. Do you mean literally or metaphorically? You might even know this guy I interviewed yesterday. He's a great music guy, Mark Bingham. He said, I'm already dead. If you were walking down the street today and you met yourself as a 12-year-old, what would you say to your 12-year-old self?
Schmuck, go home and practice.
Which way should toilet paper come off the roll, over or under?
I like it when it comes under.
Oh my God. Why do 95% say
I
over?
know, because it looks nicer when it comes over, but if it's under, then you can rip it up off. It's usually below the level of my center.
You know how it is on the patent 100 years ago? Over.
I know. I mean, it's I also think heterosexual couples should leave the seat up so that the men don't pee on the seat that the women want to sit on.
Oh yeah, you're a very polite human. That's concerned human. That's good. If a publisher was to release your autobiography off the top of your head, what would the title be?
Oh boy, I don't know.
I was going to say same line. Schmuck, go home and practice. Or oh boy is good. Okay. They want to scent the glue in the binding of your autobiography. What smell?
Like I said, after COVID, I kind of lost my smell. What kind of smell in the glue? Rosemary.
Good. If a statue was built in your honor, where would you want it displayed and what would it be made of?
Well, I like wood.
Okay, where do you want it displayed?
That's up to the people who feel the statue should be made in the first place. Don't include me.
Tell me something good you never had and you never want.
But it's still good.
Yep, it's good. You never had it, but you never want it.
I'm sorry. I'm drawing a blank.
Yes,
I never had it and I never wanted it. No, I can't go there. I mean, I have to.
Andy, guess where I got that question? That's an NLP question, but I don't use it the way they do. They look at your eyes.
Okay, I can answer you.
Go.
A Stradivarius cello.
There you go. It's good. You never had it. You never want it.
No.
Yeah. Right. See, you did it. But that's funny. That's where I got that question. They when the NLPers ask you that question, they watch which way your eyes go.
If they go
up, yeah, if they go up, you're this kind of person. If you go down, and if you will look straight ahead, I don't use the eye coding, but I just thought the question's interesting.
Yes,
Johnny Carson said, I don't know what it is, but when you figure it out, tell me.
Right.
You know. But here's the doozy for you. If you were in a vat of vomit up to your neck and someone threw a bag of shit at your face, what would you do?
I'd try and get out.
Thank you. What's the cultural shift you see developing today that inspires you?
Oh, well, I see a cultural shift, but I'm not inspired by it. I'm worried.
What is it?
Narcissism.
Yeah. And do you think that came about recently or it's been since the beginning of humankind?
No, I think it has been bolstered by the forces of market forces and capitalist. I'm not bad mouthing capitalism per se, but it makes more money. If you can get somebody to be narcissistic, you can sell them stuff that they otherwise wouldn't buy.
Yeah. What's a question that remains unresolved for you?
When am I going to die?
There you go.
And how?
That's two. Going to die and how. I mean, come on, you guys got good genes, man. That's it. And that's like
I
my
know
friend.
now. I didn't say soon, but
Yeah. But my friend lived, she was still 103 or 104, like your dad. And I was like, do I really want to live that long? I mean, was he loving living that long? Did your dad love it, or was it
Oh,
painful?
the words to it ain't necessarily so.
Yeah.
Methuselah lived 900 years, but who calls that living when no gal would give in to someone? What's 900 years?
Who wrote those?
That's from Porgy and Bess. So that's Dubois.
Wow.
Gershwin wrote the music. And what's his name? First name.
Yeah.
Or Dubois.
Yeah. How has playing music, your career in music, shaped your behavior?
Well, I sleep late and stay up late.
How else?
Shape my behavior. I don't know how to describe my behavior in the first place to know, let alone what made it happen.
Two more and we're out of here, Andy. This has been fun. So this is Thornton Wilder. In 1928, he said, art is confession. Art is
confection or confession?
Confession.
Okay.
Art is confession. Art is the secret told. But art is not only the desire to tell one's secret, it's the desire to tell it and hide it at the same time. You've laid your cards on the table for 90 minutes. I'm not insinuating you haven't already answered this. What's it really all about for you?
What's what all about?
You answered a question with a question. What's it all about for you? What is life all about for you? What's
healthy?
Yeah, but it's like the first question is, what's it all about for you? I mean, what's everything in the world? What's the whole purpose? What's it all about for you?
Other people.
That's good. That's a great answer. You're going to see the wrap up. You slid in. You stole home base with the slide in on that. Okay, what gives you the most optimism?
Oh, the millennials.
Yeah, that's the answer I get the most. Youth.
My son and his wife and that generation.
How old's your son?
34.
What's his career?
Well, he's a musician and also a corporate guy.
And are you a grandparent too?
Not yet, no.
Yeah.
They just got married.
Well, congratulations. So, it's been fun, Andy. The first question I ask is, what's the best thing for a human being? Wilhelm Reich said the best thing for a human being is another human being.
Yeah, right.
And the last question I ask is, what gives you the most optimism? That's what they asked Groucho Marx at the end of his life. And he said, your two words, other people. He spent his life cutting down other people. And he says, that gives me the most optimism.
Yeah. Well, he was a wise man.
So I really appreciate your time and energy. Andy, how many years did you play with Garrison Keillor?
About 22.
How many with Commander Cody?
Well, the beginnings were kind of fuzzy. So, 8 or 9.
What'd you get mainly from Garrison and Commander Cody? Just any punchline thought?
I gave up my ego when I was on the radio show.
Oh, gave up ego. Wow.
Because you're there just to make a best radio show.
Wow.
But you're there in front of a lot of people, but it's not what it's about.
But radio is one of my favorite mediums. But you mean through his encouragement or coaching, or you just had a self-revelation? I give up my ego.
Yeah, I mean, it was a weekly practice.
Yeah.
Of this is not about me. This is about the show.
Yeah. And what did you mainly get from 8 years with Commander Cody Band?
Oh, a huge musical taste.
Yeah.
And it was the first, ongoing, sustained musical career thing. It was the first time I got paid in high school to play square dances and stuff.
Yeah.
But other than that, it was the opportunity to be in the music business at that time of history.
Yeah.
When music meant so much to so many people.
Oh, come on, man. When we saw that film Hollywood Boulevard, and you guys you're singing fucking and trucking. Yeah, that video is so cool. It's on YouTube.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. So who wrote Lost in the Ozone? Do you remember?
I think Billy C. and George.
It's a great song.
Yeah.
Andy, it's been a pleasure and an honor. I really appreciate your time and energy. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I'm going to hit the end broadcast button now, but I hope this never ends and we can keep talking forever and ever.
All right. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.